Now you can't say anything to me.
Oh my God, you're a baby.
We will stop eating. We went on a bhook hartal until we met Hrithik Roshan in person. I knew kids whose parents were having an affair with someone else, and I'm like, that is not normal.
Personally, when I went through a difficult time in my life, I actually was consulting with a child psychologist of how to bring it up with Izhan.
I'm shit scared of my mother. So I said, you know, you love this tag so much. Let me just present to you a brand called Love Child.
They act like the D word is like, oh my God, the woman didn't try hard enough, right? It usually comes down to that. Nobody is just going to, on the first fight, say, okay, I'm leaving because I have money.
And she just cut and she said, you're so bad. I'm half black. I have to be Beyonce. What do I have to?
You just don't step into the kitchen.
Okay.
Easy for me because I don't step into the kitchen anyway in life.
I think the thing is that you want to hit this hard, right? Because of tennis.
Yeah. But you kind of have to a little bit. Otherwise, it won't go up. There we go. Has tennis or sport been a big part of your lives?
For me, I think sport has saved my life. You know,
Yeah.
Sanya, I don't know if you resonate, but
Mine
I'm sure
too.
you will. Because I feel like I didn't have that stress of like peer pressure, and I was just so busy playing sport and trying to get better at my tennis.
Yeah.
That I feel like it saved me that depression and trying to get into like a bad habit or just generally. And I feel even today, I always go back to a sport and I always go back to like movement because of that.
Same for me, I think, but just that it became professional very, very soon in my life, right? That was the only thing. But sport does save you,
Yeah.
but it also teaches you so much, right?
Yeah, and I think with tennis especially, and even I'm not this so much, but with tennis, it's an individual sport, right? You're kind of out there on your own. You have to figure it all out.
You're making me run.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll run. We're gonna end with that winner from you.
I have won this game. Should we do a... Okay, that was good.
That was good, no?
That was good. That was good.
You need water. Please give
Guys.
us some water. So now you can say you have played pickleball.
I have played pickleball with the best, not pickleball player, but tennis player.
Racket sport.
Racket sport.
First of all, thanks for doing this.
Not at all.
I want to straight up ask you about, first, congratulations on Matara.
Thank you.
Beautiful name.
Thank you.
We were talking off camera. Tell us, what does it mean?
So Matara actually is, it's a nod to both sides of my heritage, and it's actually the name of a group of 9 Hindu goddesses, so Ma Tara, and that's where I got it from. And it's actually also an African princess as per history. So it's this name that I just stuck with for years, even before I ever knew I wanted to have a baby.
Really?
Yeah, I just knew that if I had a girl, she's going to be Matara.
Has it changed your life?
It has changed my life completely. It has changed me completely. And I'll tell you, it's changed me for the better because I feel like now you can't say anything to me. You know what I mean? It's made me thick-skinned. It's made me like I'm sharper at work. I have more focus. I have more grit. Somehow I'm more resilient. And I think you just also realize as a mom that time is suddenly finite, right? Like you don't have endless hours to do one thing. So I'm just like, everyone get on with it. You know what I mean? So a lot more patient also. But I have to say that I didn't imagine that postpartum feels would hit me now. I'm feeling it now.
It's been over a year now,
It's
right?
been over a year now. And I just feel something changed in the last 2 months I don't know if it was just her becoming a little bit more independent or what it was.
Oh, she's one. Wait till she's like 60.
Yeah, can you imagine? I don't know what I'm going to be when that happens, but I just think that suddenly I felt this feeling that, oh my God, my life is now over. But it's also beginning again.
You know, there's so much of knowledge that is given to us and
Yeah.
all these opinions that are given to us about
Yeah.
motherhood because
Yeah.
we're mothers for the first time. That is can get overwhelming, I feel.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I felt like I got my escape from working out. Do you
Yeah.
feel like that? Do you feel like workout helps you?
Yeah, I went into my workout very, very soon. I think 20 days or so after
Yeah.
I gave birth. And then I felt like myself again. But I have to say that I'm somebody who was very fit before I got pregnant. Like, I think I met you just before
Yeah.
I got pregnant. And then I thought I would be very detached from my new body after being a mom. Like, I wouldn't like resonate with it, but I was fine. I was like eating paratha and,
Yeah.
you know, meetha and what. I was eating anything that I wanted. And I just enjoyed being that bigger, more voluptuous girl. I really enjoyed it. So it was fine.
I enjoyed my pregnancy a lot. I ate everything I
Same.
didn't eat for 30 years.
Yeah, oh yeah,
For
yeah,
those
yeah. All
nine-
that sport
for those
discipline was
9,
like,
10 months.
get
I was,
out.
yeah, it was literally out.
Yeah.
So my team and I have picked out a few special moments in your
Okay.
life, and I want you to tell us the backstory or some story behind those pictures.
Oh wow, okay. This is a blast from the past. But what happened to my eyebrows here? I don't know. Was I not setting them? This was actually the launch of my first ever store in Bombay, in Juhu. And Sonam came to launch it. And ever since then, I've decided that Sonam is my lucky mascot. So any Shubharamb or anything that's new and
She
has
comes.
to be kicked off, she has to come. But yeah, we both look like literal babies here.
How many years ago was that?
This must be 15 years back. I'm telling you, we did
amazing.
not know that threading exists.
But you were so young. I mean, you were 20, 21.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
I
amazing.
started my brand when I was 19 because I was just like, I don't need any work X. Next one. Oh my God. The best.
I love the
This is-
swimsuit.
Isn't it? I felt like we had so much more fun that time with color. But this was actually a holiday in Nairobi. Was it Nairobi? Yeah, it was in Nairobi and with my dad. And I remember I used to see him after such long intervals and was
Because he was
usually-
playing and,
was,
yeah.
he was actually, he had retired by then, but he was, you know, doing commentary and stuff. But I would just see him at summer mostly. And it was the best. I remember apple juice used to be like the highlight of these trips. So very special. But I remember I also had like braids in my hair then, the first time that I got braids. As you can see, this little braid over here. And then I had a headache. So I complained and cried a lot. This one is very recent. I'm at my fittest. And
Is
I
this
must
just
get
before
back.
Matara?
This is just before Matara. No, this is just before my wedding.
That's
No,
why you
sorry. This was 2 days after my wedding. This was my honeymoon. This was my honeymoon, which is a joke that I actually did an item song in the movie Kesari 2. And this was my look. I was like doing a burlesque number and I was very excited. But then the song
You dressed
only
like
got...
that on your honeymoon?
No, not. I should not be dressing like this anywhere. But yeah, this was 2 days after
That's
my
a
honeymoon.
lot of effort for
No, but listen, I was wearing this corset. It was so tight that I had an acidity attack. I just want to let you all know. So I was like chugging Eno and like pretending to be hot. This is also very, very special. This was my second show at Lakme
Oh
Fashion
my
Week.
God, you're a baby.
I'm
Look
a
at
baby. I have so much hair. It's crazy. It's just like I have no hair left. This was actually the moment I remember I decided that I wanted to do design for life. Like I wanted to make a retail story out of my brand. So yeah, this was very special.
It's
I
very
think that-
young to know that.
yeah, and I think because I got that kind of appreciation and just encouragement, I feel like I had that courage to say, okay, let's do this. Oh, the sweetest. So this is the first time my dad met Matara, and this looks like a very happy photo, but she cried and cried and cried because he has such a deep voice that he came close to her and she just like screamed. It was crazy. It took me like 1 hour to shut her up. But this is very special because my daughter will get the kind of time that she deserves with like her Nana. And I just finally told my dad what Nana means. So he's got it. So he's not like, it's not Nana, it's not Nanny, it's Nana. But yeah, I'm so happy that she's already spent so much time with him because these will be memories
Yeah.
forever. Yeah. One with Neena ji.
Oh my God.
How young
So
is she?
cute. Look at you.
Yeah. I was a
You
very
have this
cute.
smug face, but over there you've made
I'm a
this-
skeptical
Yeah,
child.
You're looking.
This was an award function that I went to with mom. I used to go to these a lot with my mom because, she was a single parent and she had to
Yeah.
like drag me along everywhere. So yeah, I've seen those Bollywood award nights
A
very
lot.
closely and a lot. Yeah, which is why I'm thoroughly bored of them now. Yeah. Okay, the story behind this is amazing. Kaho Na Pyar Hai, the trailer had just come out. And it was me, Alia, Shaheen, Anushka and Kanchi. 4 of us, 5 of us girls who said we will stop eating. We went on a bhook hartal until we met Hrithik Roshan in person. So we told our parents that we have to find him and we have to go to his house and meet him, otherwise we won't eat. And we were like, I think what, 13, 14? Some not even. And my mum arranged it. She met Rakesh Roshan on some
But
airport
you
or
look
something.
so awkward.
I was like this, and I had braces, and I had like 2 teeth missing because I had these teeth problems. And I remember Hrithik's mum, Pinky auntie, was like, "Show me your teeth." I was like, "No, I don't want to show you my teeth because I don't want him to see my braces." You know what I mean? But I bought this top specially because I heard his favorite color was yellow, but I don't think he cared. But he was really sweet, and he spent so much time with all of us, and we all touched his muscles, which was in hindsight really weird.
Yeah.
This is a photo with the OGs, I think. Soni auntie, my mom's best friend, and Ila auntie. And that's me pretending to play with a film or something. This is my childhood. Like I remember it being these incredible women coming home, dressed impeccably, looking amazing, smelling amazing, and just eating and drinking and enjoying themselves. I think this is what childhood to me is. I feel like today childhood is a very different thing.
It is very different.
Yeah. And I wish that it could go back to this. It's so chic. Soni auntie actually has
She's
like
so
gajra
beautiful, but
around her arm. This is just like a hang at home.
yeah, they're just chilling at
They're
home with
just
a
like
gajra.
gajra, you know? It's just our vibe. This is when I was a potato and now I'm not. This is also very special. In fact, I used to cry that my daughter doesn't look like me. And when I see this photo, I'm like, yeah, she looks
looks
me.
like you.
She does look like me because she looks exactly like this right now. But yeah, this is
It's a beautiful
again
photo.
a beautiful photograph. It's actually a huge frame in my house. So very, very special memories. It used to be like a ground floor house. And my mom used to whistle. She wouldn't like ring the doorbell. She would whistle and say that I'm here. So I remember we took this right after she came back home from one of her long work days. So happy memories.
Aww. Not many people know that you tried to become a professional tennis player.
Tried to is the word.
You tried. No, and so many people try to. But was sport always a very big part of your life because of your dad or in general?
I think it was definitely influenced by my dad because in some way when I was very young, I felt like I had to carry the legacy of sport forward in the family. I don't know why I felt that pressure. Nobody put it on me, but I just thought so.
Just by yourself.
Just by myself. And I think I really enjoyed seeing how independent he was, how fit he was, how mentally fit he was. And I said, I want to be some version of that. And having said that, I think I also failed miserably at it because I just couldn't take the pressure of being his daughter.
I'm going to make you talk to my son at some
Oh my
point for
God.
this.
Okay.
For this entire conversation that you're having with me.
Really? But is he feeling it as well?
I think so. I don't know if he feels the pressure yet because he's still young. But this exact thing,
Yeah.
I feel he will feel.
Yeah.
He will feel this thing of like,
Yeah, I
unless
think
he's number
by
one
the
in the
time-
world, he'll be a failure.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And you came from that kind of legacy as well.
Yeah, I came from that and I was just like, I'm not used to this. And I thought I would be, they'd let me go because I'm playing a different sport. But when I went on there, it was like, you're just not as good as your father. I have to say that until I could articulate how that felt, I just kept going. I just kept going and said, let's just keep trying, and one day it'll get better. And I remember there was one game that my dad came to, and it was some state level match, and I lost so badly, and I was a sore loser. But I have to say, Sanya, that I think tennis taught me more about life than anything else has, because I think it made me one, I think that all the anger, aggression, frustration I now put into other areas in a very productive way in
Yeah.
my work. I'm a solo founder, so I know exactly how to talk myself into and out of a situation. And all that is thanks to all the tennis I played.
Yeah, because sport does teach you how to be resilient, right? That's the whole thing. It teaches you to be humble when you win.
Yeah.
And it teaches you how to take defeat and come back and fight another day. And that's what sport does.
Yeah.
And you know, when you say that I failed, I just want to tell you that, and coming from somebody who has succeeded at sport,
Yeah.
is actually mostly played by people who have failed. Sport is not usually played. I mean, how many successful tennis
that's
players will
true.
there be in a country?
That's
right?
true.
Most sport is played in clubs, and most sport is played in like just to play, to have
Exactly. It's
activity.
recreation.
So I feel the essence of sport loses it because becoming professional isn't the
End goal.
end goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people have to understand about sport.
Yeah.
Because it gives you all this, what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
It's
even
the greatest
though,
gift.
so I don't think you failed.
Yeah, I won
That's
at
the
some.
thing. You won.
Yeah,
You won something,
in some
and
area
that's
of
what
my life.
sport does.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who has had success in sport. I can tell you that's not the end goal.
But I have to say, when I saw you just keep going at it and winning, I felt like a personal win, because I said that, this is how you really go out there and make a success story out of something. And I think you continue to do more and more even for the sport today, even though you're not really playing. But yeah, I think seeing a woman do well in sport, especially in India,
Yeah.
is special.
From sport, you tried to sing
Oh yeah,
and
I
you
forgot
tried to
about that.
dance, and you did dance quite well.
Yeah.
And you did some background dancing, and you were part of
Yeah.
IFA, and you were part of
Filmfare.
Filmfare. Like, was it just because you were Neena Ji's daughter, or because you were exposed to so much of like Bollywood, or?
No, I think I just wanted to be Beyonce. I was like, I'm half black. I have to be Beyonce, Either I'm Serena Williams, I couldn't do that.
Or you're Beyonce.
So I have to be Beyonce, so something. But no, I was a big Beyonce fan, and I must tell you how I discovered that my mother discovered I could sing, because I used to laugh very loudly at a very high pitch in the house. So she said, तुम्हारा तो सुर बहुत ऊपर पकड़ेगा, तो तुम singing try करो. So I started training, and I remember I also tried to be a VJ in the middle, by the way. I auditioned for MTV, and I did not get the gig. But I remember one of my audition pieces was to sing. And I sung an Alicia Keys song, which was so high pitched that I swear, I think that whole office was like, please do not hire. Yeah, that happened. And then I said, okay, if I'm singing, I have to know how to dance. So then I joined Shamak Davar's troupe.
Which one were you better at, dancing or singing?
I was a better dancer. I think just genetically, I was a
That,
better.
I think,
yeah,
The
hands.
half of you has taken care of that as soon as you were born.
It was taken care of. So I was a better dancer. But yeah, I think I loved that life with Shamak. You used to just like train all day, and then you went and did some performance in the back somewhere. Nobody cares who you are or whatever. It was lovely.
So it feels like you've done a lot of things before you finally found
Yeah.
what you wanted to be and what you wanted to do, which is today, obviously. But you started that search at a very young age. Why
Yeah.
was it so important as a young woman, as from the background that you had, to find something that you were very, very good at, right? Like you played sport, you danced, you sang. I mean, you did so many things,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
and then finally you became a designer, and then now a makeup.
You're right. I think between 17 and 19 is when a lot of self-discovery happened for me. And I was just like trying things. But I feel like I was also, one, I had a very, very honest household. So if I was bad at something,
You
it
were
wasn't,
told.
I was told. If I messed up, I was told. I was put in the doghouse. There was never getting away with bad behavior. There was never getting away with like being a sore loser. I was talked through every situation, and I feel that's why today I'm very, very critical of myself. I have the ability to not be delusional, which I think is
No, it's so
rare.
important to be in touch with reality.
Absolutely.
And I think that comes from our parents.
It comes from our parents, yeah, because you can't be like the sun shines out of your backside for
Yeah,
everything.
for everything.
Yeah, it's not normal.
But I do feel when you have successful parents who are very good at what they've done,
Yeah.
and they are very aware of that a lot of the
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Because they know reality, right? I mean, they know
Do you
it.
think that that's still the case? I feel like it's changed.
So I think today it's changed with media and social media and people having like 10 people coming with them, the entourage. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of that has become, I mean, all that is a facade, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's be
yeah,
honest.
Absolutely.
Like, do we really need 15 people to travel with us?
Not
if we
at
don't?
all.
Like, we
There's no
don't.
need.
So facade is bigger today. But at home, though, I feel that if you're in touch with reality and you're not treated as Masaba Gupta at home and I'm not treated as Sania Mirza at home,
Yeah.
we're okay.
Yeah, we're absolutely fine. And I
think-
think that normalcy, I
And
think
that's what we have to do for our children, right?
absolutely, because I'm just like, you are not famous. You
Yeah.
are born to in a famous household, and you have to go out there and earn whatever
Exactly.
you
You
do.
don't deserve
Nothing.
this. You have to work
Absolutely.
towards it. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying when people are famous, I feel that they can, in most cases, obviously, we're
So my
having
mom
a
had this
generate-
theory that, and that time newspapers were a thing, right? And
Yeah.
there was like a piece of gossip or something brutal that was always printed. She showed me everything. Nothing was hidden from me. I have absolute clarity of the nature of my parents' relationship since I was 13. I knew when they split. I knew when they were together. I knew when like we would go see him out of just because I had to spend time with him. It was normal. It was just not. And I knew kids whose parents were having an affair with someone else, and I'm like, that is not normal. The fact that you pretend that everything is
Everything's fine,
okay
yeah.
and your child knows that this is happening, that's not normal. So I think the idea of normal is what really changes your upbringing.
I mean, personally, when I went through a difficult time in my life, I actually was consulting with a child psychologist of how to bring it up with Izhan.
Right.
Because he was young. I mean, just the way I'm sure your mom had to have all these tough conversations with you. And the only advice that actually really stuck with me from what he said was that he should not find out anything from outside. You have to tell him yourself,
Exactly.
honestly, and it should be normalized for him. He should not feel like a freak. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not shaming
It's
because
not, yeah.
you know, the fact that I knew so much about my parents and the fact that people talk about my parents so much, it became like armor for me because I was like, my mom told me, my dad told me. I have the actual information, so
It doesn't matter
it
what
doesn't
you
matter
say.
to me. It's not shaming for me.
So your relationship with your mom from the beginning, I mean, I know it's close now. Now you guys have done a show together, you've worked
Yeah.
together, but was it always good? Like, was it always
Yeah.
close? Or
It was excellent.
Yeah.
I think my mom and I have had this very honest and very real relationship. But I'm also scared of her because,
we all are.
yeah, and I think
I mean,
that's
I'm almost
good.
40 and I'm also scared of my
I'm
mother.
shit scared of my mother. Till today. I mean, it's just like I'm scared, you know? And I think that also is a good thing because to have that boundary in a way where you feel like there's respect, but you can also talk about something that's, you know, on the friendlier side. So I think that was always there. And I think that that made me less dependent on friendships because I knew I had a friend at home.
Yeah.
And I knew that if something went wrong, I could lean on my mom. So it's always been a very, very transparent relationship.
And do you think that the fact that she was critical of the things that she didn't think or didn't approve of,
Yeah.
and was very honest in her feedback, good and bad, do you
Yeah.
think that today you feel because of that the relationship is at a much stronger place?
100%. I think that, you know, as we grow older, sometimes we start resenting our parents. And
Yeah.
that happens out of all the things that go wrong in childhood. And that happens because you think, oh, I was robbed of some honesty in some part of our life, etc. But I feel that today it's nicer because I know what she sacrificed, but I also know that there were things that she went out and did for herself.
Yeah.
So I don't see her as selfish. I don't see her as somebody who made mistakes. I just see her as someone who was just living her
Who
life
lived.
and went out there and did it with honesty. And I'll tell you the best thing about her is that she does everything with a sense of humor. She has a sense of humor about everything. So I also have that ability. in the darkest of times, I think I have the ability to laugh at myself, which is all her.
I mean, I can only imagine like almost 40 years ago or 37 years ago to have this kind of mentality
Yeah.
for her. I mean, it's all her, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being brought up by somebody who was single and a single mother in the true sense must have been challenging,
It was challenging because
but also liberating, I would imagine, in some
I
ways.
think it's liberating now. It
Yeah.
got liberating later, again, when I could articulate myself and think about my feelings and pour them out. But earlier, I was like, listen, why couldn't this just be normal?
Yeah.
Why couldn't
You
I just
felt that.
be, yeah. Like, I went to this school in Juhu, and most kids were from Gujarati business families. And I was like, this is so nice, yeah. You all eat your tiffin and you all are enjoying, and parents are together, and there are siblings, and there's this perfect household setup. And I had this, all eyes on me at all times. I remember I was playing a football match for the school one time at Azad Maidan. And from nowhere, this whole crew, this TV crew has shown up and is taping this entire game. And I just felt that why can't it just be like everybody
Regular.
else? Why can't I also have normal hair and normal skin and normal everything and a normal body type? So yeah, I think it was liberating much later. I think that you realize that everything that is a weakness or considered a weakness today or considered a weakness then is now a gift. It's actually the gift. And everything that went against you is actually the gift today.
So I wanted to ask this question later, but because you've said this, I'm going to ask you now. And that's how you've named your brand Love Child. And
That's
that
right.
is literally what you just said.
Yeah.
Turning a weakness into a strength.
Yeah.
Was it something, because it was such a big impact in your life, do you think that that's the reason that you named it that? Or you were proud of the fact that you were different or came from a different setup than other people?
I think it was just me being a bit of a smartass, to be honest. But no, I'll tell you honestly, I knew that no matter what I went out and achieved, that would be the way
The
that
tag.
people introduced me. That would be the tag. And I just got sick of it. So I said, you love this tag so much. Let me just present to you a brand called Love Child, because how else would I do it?
I mean, now, I guess times are different and
Yeah.
you're also older. So I guess people won't say, like, kids are mean. Kids can be mean.
Kids are mean, but I have to say, parents dictate that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that education matters, being well-traveled matters, or your exposure to the world matters. It is ingrained in your system. Dark skin and being a child born out of wedlock will always be something that is spoken of in hushed tones. I think the only thing that has kind of made its way out or is going out now is divorce, because so many people are getting divorced.
Yeah.
So you have no choice, But I mean, when I got divorced, I remember I was like, what? Like, what's the big deal? I'm making a life choice. I was 28,
Yeah.
when I got divorced. And I just feel that everybody else makes it a much bigger deal than it actually is.
Yeah, I just feel in this part of the world, especially,
Yeah.
they act like the D word is like, oh my God, like the woman didn't try hard enough, right? It usually
Exactly.
comes down to that.
Yeah.
And usually
Something
it's-
wrong with her.
Yeah, it's usually like, oh, you were not focusing on your home. And you
Yeah.
were not focusing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you were out trying to achieve something
Yeah.
else and you were not giving that importance. And even though they might not say it to our faces,
It's being said.
it's being said at some
Absolutely.
point.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel, yes, you're right. It is going out and nobody's encouraging divorce. Nobody gets married to get
Nobody
divorced.
wants that. It's
Nobody.
turmoil. But
Yeah.
you save yourself in ways that you cannot imagine. You also take steps sometimes where you think, oh, am I doing the right thing? You don't know. It was traumatic for my mother.
Yeah. I can imagine firsthand. I
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
I think that my parents actually, especially my dad, I think probably struggled with it more than I did in moments.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that I was struggling
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the whole decision, but I think that he struggled because of the generation and the whole.
No, I think the older generation knew that, listen, if something's not working, which in a way was also a good thing, you come halfway and try and make things work, which was also a good thing. I think today it's also arising out of a lot of impatience, intolerance. You're just like, and women becoming independent financially. So they're just like, why am I taking your shit?
Yeah, but I also think that a lot of people don't realize that if any person, and not just woman, a man too, if you're actually heading separate ways with your partner, then you would have already tried, I would imagine. No, like
100%.
nobody is just going to on the first fight say, okay, I'm leaving because I have money. Like it doesn't work like that. It's not
Sorry,
so
my
basic.
bank account is
Yeah.
full, I'm going.
Exactly. It's really not that basic. Like
yeah.
I'm sure people would have tried, and then anyway, coming back to happier things.
We've gone on to
we've gone on a rant about
divorce.
about divorce. But today you have this fashion label. Obviously, you do have a makeup brand as well, but you do have the fashion label, which you're more known for because it's been there longer.
Longer, yeah.
It was not something you always wanted to do, right? It was not something that interested you always.
No.
Talk to us about a little bit about how that came about. And
So fashion was my mum's first love. Mine was always like, I'm so gorgeous. I should be in front of the camera, and I'm half black. I should be Beyonce. That was always my like
Serena or Beyonce?
Serena, Beyonce, nothing in between. My mother was like, please sit down and find a career that you can actually do till the end of time. So I think fashion is one of those things. Or being an entrepreneur, you can do till a long time.
Yeah.
You can keep reinventing. And the joke is that I actually wanted to go to Actor Prepares, which is Anupam Kher's acting school in Bombay. And right next to it is SNDT, which is the fashion college that I went to. And there was this huge admissions open board, I will never forget, outside SNDT. And my mom and I were driving to go see Actor Prepares. And she said, oh, SNDT mein bhi admissions khule hain. Why don't you try that? So she was very sneaky about it. And she's like, try this. Why do you want to act? I said, no, I want to act. And she's like, you do not have an Indian face. Please do not try this. Go and do fashion. So I said, okay, I'll give the entrance exam at least. And I anyway won't get in. So I don't know anything about fashion. I have scored 100 in that entrance exam because it was like GQ basically and some sketching. So I went in there, got admitted and admission, not admitted. And the rest is history. Like literally 2 years went by and I really enjoyed being there. I also made some of my closest friends in fashion school. And there was 6 months left and we basically had to do this internship with a designer who they would place you with. And I said, I'm ready. What internship?
You were not short on confidence.
Nothing. I was like, I am going to apply to Lakme Fashion Week and be a part of the Gen Next program. So she said, I don't think you can do that. They won't take you when you're 19 years old. You have no experience. And Wendell Rodrigues was my mentor at the time. And he was the one who said, go out and do it. It'll happen. And I gave in my whatever, like submitted everything and I got in.
But you felt like you arrived? Like when Lakme
No, I
Fashion-
felt like I arrived in that show when that photo we just saw where I was like, oh, this was my second show. Because I wanted to keep going. And I think for me, that is, I don't think one should ever firstly think that they've arrived. But for me, I know that I want something when I want to keep doing it, even if I'm not seeing success. But yeah, I was very excited because it was 7 of us that made their debut. And it was amazing. It was just the most surreal feeling because I felt like, oh, I finally found something that I'm good at and I can also make some money off.
In your initial days, your mom did manage you, kind of.
She was my
She
accountant.
was your. She was your.
Nina ji, the Guptas have to be
Yeah,
accountants.
actually, she was many things for you.
Yeah.
She was obviously always balancing that act, and I have a father who coached me.
Wow.
So you can imagine, like spending years and years on tour together, and because of your dad, you probably know how tours are, and it's very isolated and like really restricted.
It's like a bubble.
It is, and you're with your own team, and we had to balance that relationship out because today we have a great relationship, and we had, but I'm sure it must have been challenging to have somebody who was
Also,
your
a
mom,
work
but also
relationship.
doing a work relationship with you.
Yeah, it was, I think it's weird. It feels liberating, but also restrictive
It is,
because
yes.
she was also controlling how much money I would spend. It wasn't like just
So
now
she was
because
your manager.
She was my manager and she was like, kitna kapda kharidna hai, because she was running the workshop. My workshop was in my building. I
Yeah.
had like this 1-bedroom apartment where we started the brand and that's where we did everything and she would manage that unit completely. So there was no like, do what you want, do overtime. It was run like a proper setup, like a factory. So I think it was restrictive because I was like, why don't you let me do what I want to do? And she also had a creative eye, so she had an input there. So it's like having a co-founder, but who's also your mum.
Yeah.
Um,
That's exactly what I mean. Like,
yeah.
it's challenging.
It's challenging, but I don't know if it set me up for discipline in a very different kind of way. Like even today, I have like that mad discipline. I cannot be late. I cannot be late to anything. I can't be late to my office. And I think I also expect that level of grit and work
That
and
also
hard
comes
work.
from being born to an athlete, I think.
Yeah.
That's a very, that's the
Yeah.
discipline that sport teaches you.
It's a different
also.
wiring.
Yeah. So when COVID hit, you had at that point thought of expansion, and obviously the whole world shut down at that
Yeah.
point. You went through a tough financial crisis sort of situation.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that. And
So we'd actually raised our first round in 2019, and then 2020 happened. And I still remember in March of 2020 when the big lockdown happened, my investors said, listen, I think the runway that you have for funding right now is about 3-4 months. After that, there's no money. And nobody was really putting in more money in businesses, especially like fashion, because it's at the bottom of the food chain. Nobody cares
nobody
about
cared at that
consuming
point.
luxury.
Yeah.
So he said, listen, July, I still remember 17 July 2020 will be the last day that the House of Masaba exists. And I'm a realist, so I kept that in my head. I didn't think that it wouldn't happen. I did all the things that I had to do to make sure that didn't happen. So we shut stores, unfortunately had to lay off lots of people. We cut our losses. But you know, I'll tell you, Sania, in hindsight, it's the greatest thing that could have happened to me.
Really?
Yeah, because it set me up for everything that I'm so confident of today. Understanding my business, understanding what needs to be done, not second guessing and doubting my intelligence, trusting my gut. Because all the things that I did then, I should have actually done them a year back when things were okay. So that
But
was
you
tough.
weren't pushing your limit at that
I
point
wasn't
because you
because
didn't
I was
have
like
to.
funding
Yeah.
aa gayi hai, you know, there will always be something that will fire and it'll work. But I think you have to be very careful of these things and not just have a bird's eye view. You have to go deep into each detail, which I did. It's also the time that my husband and I, my now husband and I, our relationship became what it became because we spent like 3
So
months
much time together.
together. He saw me at my worst.
So, a couple of questions in one question. When Masaba dropped, it was an instant hit, and we were talking about this off camera. You know, whether it was because it was COVID, everybody was home, or whether it was actually really good content, which I think it was. How was that? Because you always wanted to be an actor, because you had the confidence of being
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Yeah.
So you obviously proved that you could act and you had the talent, and you were with your mom who was
Yeah.
against you acting.
Yeah.
And tell us that whole situation.
You know, it's really funny, but I keep asking the producer and director of Masaba that why did you guys not do a test with me? This is nepotism. I was like,
Maybe if you had a different name to the show, they may
I
be
was
able
like,
to
the
do
show
a
is
test.
by my name. I'm the lead actor, and no one has checked if I can even speak a word of Hindi or a dialogue. But I went on there and I just felt so good. It was like coming home. The first scene that I did was with my mom, of course. And it was a scene without dialogues, I must tell you. And it was just like us emoting some stuff. And she just cut and she said, "You're so bad." So she said, "You need to work on this, you know. So you have another 40 days, figure it out." And I did. I mean, it was just.
No, you were very good.
I went into it then. And I didn't really do any training or anything either. I just think I felt comfortable in that space. I'm comfortable in front of camera.
But do you think Masaba gave you the recognition and the face or your label that was going on for the last 20 years?
It was Masaba. I think it resurrected us. Firstly, it came out in COVID,
At the time,
so
yeah.
August of 2020. And it was the worst. I mean, I was ready to sell 100% of my brand because there was no money. And then Masaba happened and it saved me. So I think it just gave me a second sort of, like second innings
Life,
in a
yeah.
way. Yeah. So yeah.
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 Well, we enjoyed the show and we hope you make a lot more content.
Oh, yay.
So we're going to give you
As
this.
if we need more content.
We're going to give you this
Thank you.
Digitech hamper.
Oh, lovely.
We're finally going to get you something very healthy because this is a healthy show. We're going to get you something very healthy to drink. We're getting a smoothie.
Okay, what
Okay?
flavor?
Whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
Whatever you want. We'll make one. Come into my kitchen.
Come into Sania's kitchen. Okay, what are we making?
We are going to
You
make.
are making.
No, I'm not making. Do you cook?
I do not
You want some?
cook. Yeah, whatever this concoction is, looks very healthy. Some granola.
One
3
walnut.
walnuts, please. A touch of honey.
This is a very demanding guest.
Very demanding guest with proper proportions.
Yeah.
Some avocado.
And you want kale. I'll put
Yeah,
it in
because
my
there's
hand.
avocado, there should be kale. This one full patta. Lactose.
It's looking very good.
It's looking very good. Cheers.
Now that we have our smoothies, we
Yes.
can get back to
Life.
asking you life questions. It's actually not bad.
Very
no?
good, huh? I'm impressed.
It was all you. It was your recipe. You are always designing, creating, and innovating. What does your kitchen design look like?
Well, my kitchen design is very minimal. I think I like things to be very organized, no mess at any time. And ever since my daughter started solids, it's like I feel like the mess is coming, and I'm like, no, 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 not now. Do it, clean it up. So very organized kitchens, muted colors, but I spend very little time in my kitchen. So it should just be perfect when I enter for 5 seconds, and then it can go back
just
to what
see-
it was. To
just look at
see,
it.
it should look like a Zen space. Yeah.
No, I am definitely someone who also doesn't enter the kitchen very much, but I like things very neat and aesthetic.
Yeah.
I like it to be like, I should know where what
Yeah,
is, and at least I can grab my coffee. And
Absolutely.
for someone always on the go, my Crompton Amio Fresh Nutri Blender is a lifesaver. Fruits, nuts, oats, everything in under 2 minutes. I've got a healthy breakfast that keeps me moving. And it looks great and compact in my kitchen. So you have spoken about your mom being extremely honest with you about even the very uncomfortable things that maybe at that point were. Did it take time to accept those things as much as honesty is obviously appreciated and today possibly you appreciate it, but at that time being a young adult even to
Yeah.
accept and have that acceptance towards things that she was going through.
I think I was just like a sponge and I was absorbing everything she was saying. And today it has a lot more meaning and it has a lot more, I think, holds a lot more weight. And I'm able to sort of dissect that information and use it to my advantage. And I've left behind what I feel was not useful to me. So I think that time I was just taking things in. And generally, I'm also like a sponge. I just absorb and I take what serves me and I leave what doesn't serve me. So that's what it was. But I think I always had a lot of respect for honesty. And I actually hold, if you were to ask me the top 3 principles that I look for in a person, whether they're working for me or their, relationship, anything of that sort, it has to be honesty. So
It's very important.
I hold that, yeah.
And bullying was something that you have spoken about for different reasons, not
Yeah.
just because you came from an unconventional family, but also for the way that you looked and the way
Yeah.
that, I mean, you didn't look like an Indian
Yeah.
person. How, as a kid, did you have an understanding of that? How difficult, I'm sure it was difficult, but how difficult was it? And
It was difficult, Sanya, I think also because when you're a kid, you're like, I just want to have fun. I just want to enjoy my life. I want to look like my friends. And you want to do exactly what your
What they're
friends are
doing, yeah.
doing. You want to have the same things they have. So I think I was just like, Mom, I want straight hair. I want acne-free skin, and do anything but just make it go away. And I wanted to be, and because I was playing that much tennis and I was, very athletic as a kid generally, I was just like, I had like ripped arms and stuff. And
anyway, because of your genetics, you
Yeah.
get ripped really fast.
I would do
would
like
imagine.
one set and it would just be like
Pumped.
pumped. And I didn't understand that at the moment. And I think today I understand the power of genetics And I was like, why do I have my dad's nose? And, I wish I had my mom's nose and her hair, because she was like this classic Indian beauty.
But do you think that came from the outer world that was making you feel that? Or
Always does. I
Yeah.
think that see, when you're growing up, who tells you what is beautiful? There's no definition of it. And
Yeah.
it's somehow fed to you over time. And, you look at who's getting more attention, who's getting more opportunities. And then that shapes your understanding of what works. And I think as a woman, more so. I'm just like, when I see some men and I see a very classic, beautiful woman with them, and the man is just like whatever,
Average or whatever, yeah.
pot-bellied, whatever. It never seems off. But if you see it the other way around,
Yeah, you
people
are
will
like-
always question it. So I think I always, but I'm very aware like that. I think I've always questioned the bigger stuff. So I think I got away.
And maybe you were more mature than other children because of
I
the
think I
things
was.
that you were
Yeah.
being exposed to, even at home, the things that,
Yeah.
honesty does come with its own set of maturity, right?
Absolutely. And I also feel somewhere it is just acceptance of your fate. I think I accepted my fate very quickly, which is that this is what it is. I'm born to two incredible parents who, one's a global, athlete and one's a national award-winning actor. And I have to now carve out my own path from here.
Was it easy to talk to your mum about this stuff when you came back? Was it...
Yeah, in fact, I think she was a great comforting factor because, it's very easy for a parent to give in and say, let's just go straighten her hair, or let's just go get some skin treatments
Just
done
so it
and
was- yeah.
something or the other. But she really explained everything to me, and she held her ground, which I think is very tough to do. Because I was like this drastically different looking kid.
And lastly, being a single mother for her, and in some ways I can obviously relate to that in a different setup. But
Yeah.
working single mother is even more challenging
Yeah.
because you're trying to balance so much.
Yeah.
And there's literally, we were just talking off camera, right? Like I was like, my mom is like the biggest blessing. Like I'm so grateful that every time I need to come here to Bombay, she's there, and she never like ever says, oof, I can't come.
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah.
can't come again.
Yeah.
So how do you think at that point, did she have, her parents, or do you remember people being around her who were helping out, like when she had to work or?
No, I was telling her the other day because I had a really bad day. I think it was in my 4th or 5th month, and I was overwhelmed, and I had some work stuff happening, and at the same time I had, Matara was there. She was still a newborn, and I was just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and I said, I think I'm going through postpartum depression. And she said, I don't think it's that, but if it is, then you should go get help. But I don't think it's that. I just think you're overwhelmed. She talked me out of the situation, and we figured that it was just that moment. And I said, how did you deal with it? She said, I didn't know the word.
Yeah, at that point, nobody knew.
I didn't know the word. I had no one around me. Unfortunately, my nani passed away when she was very young. My mom was very young. And my nana passed away as well. So,
She was by herself.
She was just by herself, and she also had to work. So she said, I was so busy that I didn't have the time to be sad or time to be depressed. I just knew that I had to go out there, make money, feed you, come back home, make sure you're taken care of. And I used to be in the van with her most of the time because I had one caretaker and her.
Yeah.
So she said, sometimes being ignorant is a blessing, or rather not knowing the finer details. I think today we have too much information.
Yeah.
But I also told her, I said, it comes out later in different shapes and forms when you don't
When you
address.
suppress,
when you
stuff.
don't address something. But yeah, she did tell me that it was very hard. She said, today I have a full setup. I have help. I have my husband who's extremely supportive, and I have her. I have both my stepfather and my father. They're all eyes on Matara at all times, So it's incredible. But she had nobody, and she said, listen, just count your blessings, because it was very tough. So yeah.
Yeah. She didn't have the luxury of being depressed.
She didn't have the luxury of being depressed, so even talking about it. I said, did you cry? She said, no, who would I cry with? She said, you cry because you want a shoulder sometimes to just comfort you. She said, I didn't cry because there was no one to cry along with. So yeah, quite challenging. Yeah.
Our next segment is Postcards and Passports, powered by British Airways. So you and your mum love to travel,
Yes,
and you travel a lot together.
a lot.
A lot. Tell us any memorable
Travel. trip.
travel trip.
I think LA is something that was a bit of a, it was an experience. I also feel like I grew up on that trip, because mom and I went and we love walking. And then suddenly you're like, oh, you have to find your way through, public transport or whatever. And I remember just spending the whole afternoon there with my mom, shopping, having a drink, and then shopping some more. And I think the way time expands there and you just feel like you're not in a rush is frankly quite amazing. And I love traveling with her specifically for that. No agenda.
I used to actually live in Orange County, very close to
wow.
LA. So just before I started playing tennis, we used to
Yeah.
live in America.
Wow.
And we couldn't live there anymore because my parents at that point thought we had a better life in India, and everybody thought we were crazy to
Yeah,
leave
to leave
America and to come
America.
here. But if I would have stayed in America, I would have never played tennis because
Yeah.
they wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Right.
So at that time, my aunt just lived in San Diego, and we were living in Orange County. So we
wow.
had a lot of, we used to come and go a lot from LA, and like I've got cousins there. So even now when I go back to LA, it feels like home for me in
Yeah.
so many different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is a beautiful place, Beverly Hills. On a long haul flight with British Airways, I was traveling alone and feeling a bit exhausted after a hectic week. As I settled into my seat, one of the cabin crew members noticed I looked a little worn out. She came over with a warm smile and said, "Let's make this flight extra comfortable for you." A few minutes later, she returned with a personalized note welcoming me on board, along with a cup of tea and a small box of chocolates. Throughout the flight, she checked in discreetly, making sure I had everything I needed. It wasn't just the gestures, it was the genuine warmth and attentiveness that made me feel truly cared for. Okay, with that, we
Yeah.
have now come to rapid fire. So we're going to
Oh,
ask
my
you some
favorite thing.
quick questions. We're
Okay.
already giving you hampers, as you can
I'm
see.
very excited.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
The one person whose approval you seek even today.
My mother.
A piece of advice you ignored in your 20s but wish you hadn't.
To take better care of my skin.
The relationship in your life that has shaped your idea of love the most.
I think my stepfather, because we're not related by blood, but the bond that we share is, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your younger self met you today, what's the first thing she'd say?
She would say that I'm glad you finally decided to forgive yourself.
Acting, entrepreneurship, or fashion?
Entrepreneurship, any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that come the most naturally to you think?
It doesn't. It's actually the hardest thing
Oh,
for
really?
me. And it's also not something that I inherently thought I would like to do. But there's a lot of power in being an
In being
entrepreneur.
an entrepreneur, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could shadow any global designer for a week, who would it be?
It would be Karl Lagerfeld. I wish I could have done
Yeah?
that. Yeah.
The celebrity who carries your design in the most unexpected, non-Masaba way.
Alia Bhatt, because I don't think she ever really wears the prints that I do, but somehow it looks Masaba when she wears it.
If you could steal one celebrity's wardrobe for a week, who would it be?
Sonam, 100%. Yeah.
I think we all would
We
want
all
to do
want
that.
it. Yeah.
Your guilty pleasure TV show or movie?
Guilty pleasure TV show would be Succession.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it.
Binging non-stop.
Who in your life makes you laugh the hardest?
Or currently my daughter, because she's just like saying.
She's at that
really-
age now.
She's saying anything.
She's saying words now, na?
She's fully saying words, but she says kaka a lot. I'm like, okay. So it's funny.
To her, it makes full sense.
Full sense, yeah.
Your worst fashion memory or mishap on the red carpet?
I think the one time that I wore a really snug black dress, but I wore white innerwear for some reason, and I was flashed by the paps, and the rest is history. So yeah, that.
We're gonna have to go.
You'll have to look for it. I don't know where that image is, but I still remember.
Don't give us ideas.
No, guys, don't find it. Not needed.
One routine you can't start your day without.
I do this 12-minute breath work. I have to do it, otherwise I don't feel awake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every morning.
And who gives you better advice today, your mum or your husband?
My husband, because I think my mother is in some space, some
do you
weird
mean?
space. You know, she's like.
She's given you enough advice for the last how many ever years now. I don't think
No, I think she's like a Bollywood heroine who's like just starting her career, but is also in the middle of her career, but is also having a second innings, and she's got that energy, you know. But fact is that she's 60, so she's got this like.
But she's dressing like she's like super hot and young.
Yeah, because the thing is, she doesn't give a damn, like genuinely.
Which is amazing.
But at the same time, she's like this go-getter. So it's weird. The advice that comes from there is weird to my husband because he's more grounded right now.
Thank you for being on this podcast, but also thank you for being so honest and candid as always.
Not at all.
And it's been a pleasure knowing you on camera as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Solitario has given us this gift, beautiful diamond for you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to watch this episode on our premier partner, Myntra Glam Stream, Play to Slay.